Hi, we want to introduce you to Blocked, a new web application for managing blockers and team dependencies to make workflow faster and more predictably. We believe current tools for managing IT work have run their course, and we don't think they focus enough on people and team interactions where there is real value to be found and impact in reducing lead times can be made. Shocking as the number 5 to 10% sounds for process efficiency, or the hands-on time in a process, it's a well-proven number, even quoted by one of the Scrum process founders, Jeff Sutherland, in a recent 2019 conference paper. It also rings true from my experience as a consultant who focuses on agile analytics and forecasting. And if anything, it's actually on the high side. So here's what it looks like. The blue squares are where the hands-on time work is moving in a process, and the orange squares are where work sits idle for any reason. There's a huge opportunity to focus on solving and removing some of those orange squares. How many can we remove? Well, in the Toyota manufacturing process or lean processes, 25% is where you earn the moniker of being called a lean organization. So we're a little bit under halfway there with plenty of room for improvement. Why is process efficiency so low, and why does it feel lower than it should be? Well, in the famous words of Klaus Leopold in his book Rethinking Agile, we've made the teams agile but largely forgotten the rest of the organization. There's a lot of steps outside of development where work sits idle, but the current tool vendors have mostly focused on optimizing the teams and the development column. The problem is that hasn't moved the needle for the rest of the organization. If it takes 1 year to decide to do something that takes 1 day to code, then the lead time is still 1 year and 1 day, and that's simply not good enough. So what's the value in dealing and removing with some of those orange squares? Well, I've done some math for you. If we can take a process efficiency of 20%, and remember I said earlier it's not, it's more likely 10 or less, so I'm being super generous. If we can just halve the number of orange squares that remain, the other 80% of time in the process, how would that help us? Well, here's what it looked like. I've taken away half of those orange squares, cutting 8 weeks of idle time down to 4. Now the math, which shows the total improvement in flow over the whole system, is 33%. Now you can take that saving in one of two ways. You can get 33% more work done for the same time, or if you're outsourcing or project funding, pay 33% less. For one team of 7 people on an average salary of $100K a year, that's a saving of $238,000 a year for one team. And I bet you have more than one team. So this is our mission. We want to help companies eliminate those bottlenecks and reduce the total product time to market. And how do we know we've achieved that? We target 3 organizational OKRs that will be improved when you make success. 1, lead time will be lower. 2, process efficiency will be higher. And 3, work will be more predictable and able to be planned with much more accuracy. So we will know we've achieved the intended outcome when we see these 3 needles move, and don't worry, we will help you measure them. So we know that focusing on people and interactions was important last year, but it's super critical now. COVID and offshore augmentation, or however you want to phrase it, distributed agile teams is the new normal. So we need to find tools and ways to support people working remotely. And one of those is their ability to say when they're blocked for some reason, or when there is a handoff to another team because they're no longer sitting next to each other. And secondly, we think scaling organizations using ever more complex process pictures and diagrams has run its course. If it was going to make a big impact in the industry, we would have seen it by now. And a lot of organizations are on their 3rd attempt at agile transformations. So we want to give you a new way of working that deals with the interactions between people in a simple way, not ever more complex ways that just focuses on the dev teams. So how does our solution work? We think it works in 3 acts: capture, resolve, and eliminate. Act 1 is capture. We've made an application that is super lightweight and runs either on a phone or on a laptop or a tablet in a browser window and is simple enough that people won't mind logging their blocked work. Now we will integrate with the current tools that you have, but we know that many of the reasons work gets blocked is because they're outside of the development and technology organization. They're in HR, they're in legal, they're even outside of the company in a third-party vendor. And surprisingly, they don't use your Jira. So we've built a way of capturing and communicating that blockers are occurring no matter where they are, and we don't charge by the user for that reason, to encourage you to spread our solution wide. Act 2 is where we help the people who are blocking you know they're blocking you. And it sounds simple, right? It sounds like they should already know. It's not. Often people don't realize they're blocking you. And if they do realize they're blocking you, they don't understand the urgency and how important it is. So part of Act 2 in our solution is helping people see and fix the right blockers based on some organizational agreement of urgency. And we help you define that urgency scale. And Act 3 is where we really shine. Just by capturing and resolving the blockers in Act 1 and 2, we get great analytics around what blocker causes and teams are the most impactful. If you can eliminate the causes of just the top 3 of these, you make a huge dent on flow and into the future by proactively avoiding future blockers of these types. It's a huge win. So our solution is very light and simple. Use a browser or in a phone or on a laptop, and it has some pretty sexy analytics, to be honest. And we think that combined, those 3 acts of capturing, resolving, and analyzing and removing blockers will give you great value for money. Our call to action is pretty simple. Get flowing to blockedapp.com and take a look at, and if you like what you see, get in touch.